said talk to me, damn it, or else I'm gonna throw you in the fire!
You stupid bitch, you filthy... FlyOver State of Fear.
Welcome back to FlyOver State of Fear. Joining me today is a really great guest, Andy Cleves of DEAD in Santa Carla podcast.
Yes.
How's it going, Andy? Thank you so much for coming on.
Dude, Joe, it's good. It's going good, man. Thanks for having me on, man. I was looking forward to this. I've gotten to know you a little bit over the Twitter.
Fan of bad sports teams, so like I always appreciate it. Like,
yeah, we both tweet. We both love movies and we both like sports, so it's kind of worked out.
I know. I weirdly follow like a strange amount of like Cleveland sports accounts for some reason.
Sorry, we're quite miserable on the Twitter.
And, I mean, it's Jets and Mets. It's like it's just this other side of the coin, just a little further west.
Yes, it's true. Yes, Jets.
Oh yeah, I'm going on Sunday and like just to because tickets are. I don't know how like if Browns tickets get cheap, but like I'm going to an NFL game for $15.
That and it's not only an NFL game in New Jersey. So that's that's incredible.
Yeah. So it's so I understand like you're paying
sure.
But yeah, it's you could for the most part last like 9 years you could get Jets tickets as maybe you're spending $55.
Sure.
So anyway, back to another lost season. Tell me a little bit about yourself and just welcome on the pod.
Yeah, thanks, man. Well, I mean, I'm definitely here because I think we both love movies and horror films, and I've always been a huge horror movie fan, just a big film fan in general. It's been a big part of my life since I was a kid. How horror kind of started for me was when I was 4 in 1985. It was a long time ago now. My dad first opened up a video store in my little town about an hour northeast of Cleveland in Ohio. And so I was raised in a video store.
Nice.
And VHS days, 85 through when I graduated high school, and I worked at them as a teenager. So me just scouring the shelves and the horror rack and looking at all these. I mean, I would spend hours just reading and looking at these VHS covers. Because let's face it, some of the best covers are from some movies that were released in the 80s. I mean, some of these VHS jackets were just insane. So that's kind of where it started for me for film, and horror just was always been my favorite genre since I was a kid. And to kind of add to that, another person that actually got me into horror when I was about like 5 was my grandmother.
Wow, that's cool. That's fun.
Very cool. I remember. I don't know if people remember this, but like maybe like late 80s, early 90s, USA Network on Friday the 13th would do like marathons of all the Friday movies. And I remember watching like Friday the 13th in like 1991, watching Friday the 13th 4, 5, 6, 7 back to back with my grandmother.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, I was born in 92, but I totally get what you're.
Yeah,
the night you're talking about.
Right. USA Network used to run those all the time.
So they were trying to bring that back. They were trying to bring that back, like, I think, like, in 2012, like, they were supposed to have, sorry, a little side tangent.
Yeah.
Here. USA was developing a Tales from the Crypt reboot with M. Night. You can actually see a teaser they made for it. I'm still interested to find out what.
It's been great. I'm a huge M. Night fan, and I love Tales from the Crypt. So I'll back it.
Yeah, and it probably would have been great. And anyway, just why you reminded me of it is the plan. At least what they wrote about was like it'll be that show, and then like basically Joe Bob Briggs deal of like, and then we'll show 2 movies that night. It'll be a horror night on like a Thursday or something. Anyway, so you would do that, and that's what I wish we still had that, and it wasn't.
Yeah,
Like, it wasn't like Joe Bubbers where like I have to turn on Shutter and I have to do that, and then it's kind of I don't know, it's kind of like a 4-hour commitment.
Yeah, no, I feel you, and I enjoy Joe Bob watching Joe Bob, but I don't catch every one live. I try. It's fun. Some nights it's just movies that
I've only ever caught a few.
yeah, it's fun. I like stuff like that. But USA, yeah, on Friday the 13th, way back in the day, well, on a Friday the 13th, they would have Friday the 13th movie marathons, and I've always been a huge fan of that franchise, all horror. But I mean, movies have just been a huge part of my life since I was 4. And when I was 20, I moved to Los Angeles and went to film acting school, studied for 6 years.
Oh wow.
Did a couple really, really, really bad C horror movies that no one has ever seen. I did get my throat slashed by Stephen Piercy, the lead singer of Rat. So that was
Oh,
kind
that's cool.
I got to die and like spit up blood. So that was kind of
That's
so like
fun.
you know like literally one of my bucket list items were like 25 years ago, get killed in a horror movie. Check.
Did it.
But you know, no one's ever seen it, but that's okay. I've seen it and it happened. That's all that matters.
That's fun. I was gonna say like maybe I've seen it because we just would pour through just bad horror movies, not even horror movies, just bad movies all the time. So there's a possibility there.
So like you know, film in general has always been a big staple in my life one way or another. But I mean, I was literally raised in a video store. I went to film acting school. There was a time in my late 20s through my mid 30s where I was still watching film, but maybe I wasn't. It wasn't like as big of a part of my life as other points. But you know, it kind of. I've always just been a huge horror fan, man. And in 2017, I left an old career as a loan officer in California. I was a real estate agent and loan officer. I worked in the refinance department. I specialized in refinances.
Okay.
Was making pretty good money. My office was in West Hollywood. I walked to work. It was great, but there was one problem. I fucking hated it. I hated it. So I left that field. The first year I was still doing it part time to kind of segment.
Yeah, good for you.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah, I mean, I literally quit a job where I was making pretty good money from 2017 to now to up until like a few months ago to make like probably 10 grand a year. I dove headfirst into digital media and live streaming, stuff like that. And it started with streaming Friday the 13th, the game on Twitch. That's how it all started for me. And I was hooked. And I knew this was something. I knew there was something here because the thing about Twitch is it's a big community. I think that's the thing that people misconceive sometimes, especially streamers. Actually, the whole point of Twitch really is to build communities. Yes, and keep in touch with your community. And I just like people, and I enjoy people.
Yeah.
The fact that we had 20, 30, 40, 50 people hanging out every night in our streams. Awesome. Having laughs and having a good time. I thought that was great. Flash forward to now, I've been sticking with it. I've been doing other I started, my buddy Brian, we started the Dead in Santa Carla podcast in October of 2019.
It's a really good podcast. I just
Thanks,
like it.
Man.
You guys have a nice chemistry, and I've enjoyed it. I listened to your bopped around. I listened to your Hereditary episode today.
Oh, we had Jerry Smith on for that. Jerry's a good dude, man.
Yeah, and I was looking over I was sitting here and I was looking over my shoulder because that movie terrifies me.
That's pretty bad. I look over your shoulder. Is that over the top behind you? You beautiful man.
It is.
That Lincoln Hawk himself. It is, isn't it?
It is. That's not the right sweatshirt. It is one of my favorite movies.
If I had some Pennzoil right now, man, I'd start downing it.
I have the hat. I should have worn that for this recording. I wear his hat a lot.
Dude.
I literally was wearing this and I was sweating my ass off. That was one thing off air I forgot to ask you about what your thoughts of the new Rocky 4 is, but I'll save that for after.
Yeah.
You're like the only one.
I have thoughts.
Yeah.
I started the Santa Carla podcast, my buddy Brian, in 2019, October of 2019. We've been doing that about a little over 2 years now. Flash forward to now, I've stayed with this digital media and kind of career that I just community and digital media is really what I work in, and I was blessed with the opportunity, job I applied for way back in April. I was hired on September 2nd, a day before my 40th birthday, I got hired at a company called Gun Interactive. They are a video game studio that specializes in horror video games and horror IP video games specifically. They are the creators of Friday the 13th, the game, which is what launched my digital media career. So now I have joined their community development department, and I could not be happier.
That's amazing. First, congrats. Also, you have to teach me how to kind of play the Friday the 13th game, because I bought it. I bought it on one of those for my PS4. And I think I bought it like during the pandemic, and there was just like, I was like, all right, I don't really know. I was one of those things where it was like, I'm walking around, I don't know what I'm doing. And
I have played 4,000 hours, so I got you.
Not many people were. I mean, like I was like telling my one friend, I'm like, I think you need people to play this, buy it, and he didn't buy it. So, no, man, that's an amazing story, and it's cool. It like goes back to your roots of everything, and you're still able to like, do what you love.
I tell people this all the time, man. Never be satisfied, or never just accept or just be satisfied just because it's easy. That's because that usually you're usually not going to be happy if you do that. So
no,
you should never settle. And sometimes it takes sacrifice. I'd be lying to you that there was a lot of times I thought over the last 4 years, God, I'm a fucking idiot. What am I doing? Like, you have a bad month and you only make like $600 in a month. It's like, what the fuck am I doing? Is this wrong? I'm blowing through my savings. What am I doing? If this doesn't work, I'm fucked. But it ended up, everything worked out.
Works out, yeah.
Just if it's something you want to do, just do it.
Yeah, and I think that's true for a lot of artistic types, like people.
Sure.
Like, I think most people that talk about anything like in some way or another, we're all artists, and like that's that type of brain, right? Like,
yeah,
I totally get it. So that's amazing.
Thanks, man.
So you did pick today, and I have to imagine it is from your child. It is from your childhood.
Oh God.
Oh
yeah.
So I mean, I know what The Lost Boys is. I'm so in pop culture. I'm surprised. So this is basically a first watch for me, and it's pretty fun. I mean,
as an adult, right?
Yeah, I watched it. I was one of those middle schoolers who was obsessed with Jim Morrison, so like it did watch it at some point. But it was a first watch, and it's funny too. We even covered it on the FlyOver channel. But I didn't cover it. My two other folks covered it. And they paired it with Karate Kid, and I totally get after watching it an hour ago.
Yeah,
paired it with Karate Kid.
Absolutely.
But anyway, so Andy and I talked about The Lost Boys, and before I give a breakdown or anything, why The Lost Boys? Like, what was this pick?
Well,
listening that don't know, the question is like, just pick something you want to talk about, or that means something to you. So why the movie?
Well, mainly, honestly, it's one of my favorite horror movies from the 80s. It would easily crack my top 10, probably my top 5.
I mean, your podcast is named after it. It's your logo.
Our podcast, my buddy Brian and I, he actually came up with the name, and it's called Dead in Santa Carla. The fictional California beach town in The Lost Boys is Santa Carla, California. The murder capital of the world, better known as that. So it just felt right. It's coming on here. It's kind of how you found me from Santa Carla, from Dead in Santa Carla. So why not talk some Lost Boys? I got to watch it a little bit. I've watched this movie 100 times.
Oh, it's like your other suggestion was Nightmare on Elm Street, and that's like me picking Nightmare on Elm Street. Like I didn't need to pick it before coming on, and
sure
watch it if it was gonna. So I totally. Get it? Yeah, so just real quick for anyone that's not familiar, I'm going to read this synopsis and see if it does the movie justice. Because full disclosure, I walked out of we have an apartment. I walked out of the room after I watched it, and I looked at my wife, and I say quite often, I said, wow, movies that people, really like and love and talk about it. Shocking, it's good. Like, yeah, like, wow,
this movie's fucking rad, dude.
Yeah, so this is from IMDb's synopsis. A mother and her 2 sons moved to a small coast town in California. The town is plagued by bikers and some mysterious deaths. The younger boy makes friends with two other boys who claim to be vampire hunters, while the older boy is drawn into the gang of bikers by a beautiful girl. The older boy starts sleeping days and staying out all night, while the younger boy starts getting into trouble because of his friend's obsession. So that does an okay job explaining it. I mean, this movie is directed by Joel Schumacher.
Who is very, very underrated director, brother.
I actually can't wait to talk about Joel Schumacher for a little bit.
People give him so much shit for Batman and Robin. Like, leave him alone. He was established long before that. Okay.
It's so funny because this movie's why it worked. I mean, it's directed to hell. I mean, he does amazing job with. They don't amazing job with the cinematography, but like just clearly a direction was given for this movie, right?
And I've done a lot of research on this movie.
Yeah,
obviously, this movie and Kiefer Sutherland, Jason Patric, they will all tell you this movie is funneled completely through Joel Schumacher's vision. 1,000,000%. From the costumes, did you notice that the wardrobe in this? Like you've got Alex Winter, who played Bill in Bill and Ted. He's got a small part in this. That jacket he's wearing, like these outfits.
It's like,
people weren't wearing that in 1987, man. But it works. It works. Well, before he was a filmmaker, Schumacher was a clothing designer.
I did not know that. That makes sense. But yeah, no, you could tell instantly, like, you said from the clothing, and everyone like looks so cool. And I know I read a bit while doing it. It was like, well, he was like, no, I want my vampires. They're all gonna be sexy. Everyone in this movie is gonna be sexy, and they all are.
Indeed.
But quick about Schumacher, it's funny. You even mentioned, and Batman and Robin. I'm not Batman. Batman Forever is a good movie. It's a fun movie.
It's fine.
It's his style. Flatliners. I mean, it's of its time, but another Kiefer movie. It's a fun movie.
I like Flatliners. Yeah.
As like not someone who grew up with it, right? Like when I watched it, I was like, I get it. It's very 95 or whenever it came out. And then I think right before this, he did St. Elmo's Fire, which is a good one.
Another good Schumacher film that I am a huge fan of is Falling Down with Michael Douglas from 1992.
Falling Down.
That was
from Michael Douglas. Just One Bad Day.
Yeah,
that's a really good like One Bad Day story. If anyone listening, if you want to watch like a better movie, because I don't think it's a good movie, than the Joaquin Phoenix Joker, just watch Falling Down. Like, it's a better origin story for that then.
Right? That's good. I fucking love that. What's another one? 8mm, another Schumacher film?
So I'm a Nick Cage aficionado.
I love Nick Cage, by the way. Love him.
What? Oh yeah. 8mm is phenomenal. I feel bad too. Speaking of Nick Cage, I did I apologize whose podcast. I forget whose podcast I did. I did someone's podcast talking about I think it was one of the Nick Cage podcasts. I went on two. I think it was Uncaged, and I talked about Trespass, unfortunately. And I hate that is Joel Schumacher's last feature film, because that truly isn't a good movie, and it's not his fault. You could tell they said, "Hey Joel, you want to make a movie?" And he said, "Sure." And we all took a paycheck. So, but he was a very good filmmaker, and I know when he passed, everyone who passes, people kind of gave him the credit he deserved for a week. If you asked 6-year-old me, I would have thought you that Batman and Robin was the greatest movie of all time.
Sure,
because I was the demographic.
I thought Cobra was a masterpiece.
I watched it a bit later and realized, it's not good, and I actually don't. I like when people admit I can enjoy something and it be bad, not don't dig your heels into your 6-year-old brain.
Dude, on Dead in Santa Carla, this is the best synopsis of our podcast. We're a podcast where two dudes talk great horror movies and bad but great horror movies.
Yeah,
that's what you can find the good, and at least me, I find enjoyment in so many movies. Most.
Right there, Over the Top.
Love Over the Top. Are you kidding me, man? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's so, but yes, I love that. But it's true. It's just the ridiculous, and that's what's fun. they're beer movies, right? That's what I call them.
Yeah.
Sit down and you hang out and you play some games and put that movie on.
Well, there's a little Stallone connection with me. I see you got Rocky 4 and Over the
Yeah,
Top.
my wife framed those for me a couple
Nice.
years ago, and I was like, there's a
My favorite film of all time is the original Rocky.
phenomenal. I was home the day of Rocky 4, the new cut.
Yeah.
I stayed home. I worked from home 3 days a week, and it was slow enough where I sat on the couch. I'm like, I'm gonna go see the new cut tonight, and I started with 1, and I was like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna go 1, 3, 4, and then I'll have enough time to, before dinner and to the movie.
Sure.
I did literally 1, 2, 3, 4, just so I was like, and I'm pumped, and I'm like, Laura is my wife's name. I'm like, you gonna get home? Like we gotta hang out. Like I had to stop myself from wanting to crack a beer because I was working.
You were jacked. You were
I was
excited.
like, they're some of the best movies. And I know we're supposed to be talking about Lost Boys, but did you watch his little his hour and a half documentary about the creating of Rock? Okay, we'll talk after about that because I think I haven't actually had to talk about it except for us. Anyway, so Lost Boys, welcome to the Sloan podcast. We're just only gonna talk about Cobra and Over the Top, and that'd be a good one. Anyway, so no, this movie though, I mean, it's culturally there, right? If you were to ask me like a week ago or so, like my memory of Lost Boys is like knowing it and then, kind of seeing it. And then like, I'm a big fan of the show Psych and they reference it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they reference everything in the 80s a lot. And Corey Feldman's in the Vampire episode. So like, that was like my knowledge of it all. And I'm so glad you picked the episode to watch it. And I buy every movie that we do or try to.
Sure.
So the movie really just starts out with the kid. Start with the kids moving? No, it starts with the over the town. And it really invites you in. And my first question for you, like so you know the back of your hand, is the main song that what's it called? Was Thou Shall Not Fall? Like
Thou shall not. Yes, that one.
Was that written for this movie?
I think so.
Okay. So
I think so. I'm pretty sure that is an original song for this film. I'm pretty sure. If I'm wrong about that, I'm a total ass. But
no,
I'm pretty sure because the soundtrack on this movie is bitchin', by the way.
Yeah, it's very good. And earlier I mentioned, so it starts kind of just with you don't know at the time, but the Vamps, your Kiefer, and you could fill in the names for me of who they all are. Your Kiefer and your Bill, Alex Winter, and like that group, they're kind of walking around, cruising around this fair, and instantly, and they're on the carousel, and it's just very like the mood's set. Like you kind of feel like I know what I'm in for, and I instantly though could tell like, oh shit, this has so many influences on like movies I've seen in the last 30 years. Like the big one I wrote a note down was Us, the movie Us. Like that whole carnival on the thing scene is just Lost Boys reference.
Yeah.
So that's the start of it. And then we get the kids coming in. There's an older brother. There's a younger brother. Corey Haim's the younger brother. The older brother is Speed 2's Jason Patric.
Yes. Not Speed 1.
No. I'm sure that he loves to be. Or as I realized later in the movie, our Jim Morrison plant. Because really, they just dressed them up to look like Jim Morrison.
They did. And man, he is a beautiful man in this.
Yeah, he's very handsome.
Joel wanted everyone to look sexy.
Joel wanted everyone to be like question your sexuality during this movie.
Yeah. I'm not sure if Joel ever talked about it, but I always, and I don't really want to assume, but I want to say I did read somewhere that he was gay or bisexual, I think.
Oh no, he was. We're good to say he was extremely gay.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah,
and he probably.
I don't want to.
Yeah, no, and he was open at this time too. It wasn't
Okay.
like hidden. I from the FlyBy my channel I did listen to it and they talked a lot about that. One of the things they mentioned is like, oh, Joel Schumacher like openly like has claimed to have like the most sex with some of your favorite actors in Hollywood, like thousands, like Wilt Chamberlain numbers.
Yeah.
So no, he was very open about it, and that's why like some people have read into this movie and I'm just repeating so when they listen to it and they don't judge me for stealing what they said, I've read into this movie being about like, is it overcoming, giving into homosexuality or,
Sure.
this and that and all that. And as my co-host had said was Jusef, no, because he was so open about it, like he would not make a movie where the vampires, if they were supposed to be the gay ones, the villains. Like that's just not who
Joel was.
Anyway, so that answers that question. But
Yeah.
that back to it is everyone's very pretty in this movie. I mean, like, one of my notes is like, yeah, we're jumping and we'll jump all around. I'd follow Jami Gertz and oh yeah, come, okay, great, okay. Oh, your friend is really cool too.
Yeah, she's a good actor too, and she's still working to this day. And she's young in this one, as playing the character Star. Very, very, very good in this movie, and she's very, very, very pretty. Extremely, yes. That long dark hair, those dark eyes. Yeah,
I was a bit surprised. Like, oh, by the way, I probably said it, but I didn't. Spoilers for anyone listening, because why else would you be listening? Or actually, how else could I have a conversation without spoiling anything? I was actually surprised by her turn, or like being said a vampire. I wasn't convinced if she was a vampire or not.
Sure.
So anyway, we're getting through, and they're moving in, and the mother's played by the great Dianne Wiest.
Yeah.
And I thought
great cast in this, man.
Yeah, as Joel Schumacher said, I have the best fucking cast in the world. I think that's the quote.
Yeah, I want to say she won an Oscar this same year in 1987 for Hannah and Her Sisters. I want to say she's won 2 or at least been nominated a few times, but I'm pretty sure she won for Hannah and Her Sisters this year in 1987.
I have her. I have the IMDb's up, so
yeah, I'll take a peek.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, she's won 2 Oscars.
Okay.
And it was her first one was in 1987 for Hannah and Her Sisters. Same year. So Lost Boys came out in 87. She won for Hannah and Her Sisters at the 87 Oscars. She was also nominated for Parenthood in 1990, and then also won another Oscar in 1995 for Bullets Over Broadway.
Yeah. You know what? Oscar years always surprise me, just because like Parenthood, I wouldn't imagine someone being nominated for their role in Parenthood. Not a bad movie by any chance of the imagination.
But I know what you're saying.
Cool. Yeah, no, I am a Wiest head. I don't think that's what they call themselves.
Extremely talented. She's one of the best in the business. She really has been for years.
And but I laugh because it's so silly. Speaking of direction, though, of when Michael's moving in and he's holding the one thing he decides to bring is his barbell.
Yeah.
And his weights. I don't know. It just made me chuckle because it's so like obscure to be like, we're moving into my grandpa's house. Gotta bring my weights.
Gotta get his reps in, man.
And anyway, that made me. So then we kind of cut. Like they move in. Corey Haim, spunky. I feel like he played. How old is he supposed to be? Like 13, 12?
Yeah, okay.
13.
I would say 13. You know, this was the Coreys, the 2 Coreys, as they would go on to be known. This is their first movie together.
Is this pre or
this is where they met?
Yeah. Is this pre or post the Burbs? Same year.
Burbs came out what, 88?
I think so, because
88, 89.
Corey Feldman's playing like almost like he wore the same clothes to both sets. I love the Burbs.
Yeah. Same.
And anyway, that's just like it's like the 89. So He's wearing the same outfit in that, just a little older. He looks a little more of a teenager. Yeah. Anyway, so moving in, and then you see Murder Capital of the World, which is pretty neat. And then we get to back to the pier, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's so funny thinking it's this town where people go missing. It's this thing, and it's the biggest party in the world.
It is.
Like you have the most sexed up sax player of all time,
Tim Capello, man, legend. I don't know if anyone's ever seen these memes, but there's this meme I've seen before. No, or it says something like, "I know what this film needs." No, not that. Joel Schumacher. This is what it needs, and then it's.
Oh, that's funny. I've never seen that.
Because it is so. See, that's why I love this movie. This movie is just so much fun. Like it's a vampire horror movie. It's got some comedy in it. It's kind of that 80s where the kids are kind of our protagonist kind of deal going on. That was kind of a popular thing with the Goonies and Gremlins.
Yeah, it's good to mention that Richard Donner produced it and wanted to direct it, and he was going to make it like Goonies, just horror.
Vampire, yes.
Vampire
so
Goonies.
the original script of this was supposed to be more of a family-oriented film, and Joel Schumacher did not want to do that at all. He wanted the vampires and everyone else to be sexy as fuck. That's number one. And number two, he wanted R-rated. He wanted some blood. He wanted some vampire violence. He wanted all that.
Or like glimpses into the gore and the special effects, and especially in the ending with my favorite set piece, I guess, is the holy water bath.
Sure.
Just because the goo of the prosthetic melting off and the skeleton, it was like
great, dude.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, Tim Capello on that saxophone, shirtless, is one of the most beautiful things in cinema you will ever see. He is so shiny. He is so greased. My goodness, man, he is oiled up like a professional wrestler.
I was gonna say, he looks like he's in like a Bret Hart kind of.
It's amazing.
Look, it just stands out so much. You got to talk about it so it's that, and they're jamming, and Michael becomes attracted to Star, right? He sees her from a distance. He does that looking over thing, and then they eventually meet and whatnot. And basically, she lures him. She's like, "Come on down," and then we see and like I said, "Help me out here if you can." They see she meets up, and we see the Keaton vampires, and they take Michael into with them for the night. And I mean, you already know something's wrong because they do this race to this cliff, and I have this one note where like he punches him as hard as he can in the face, and David, it's Kiefer Sutherland's
David, man.
Vampire's name is like, yeah, come with me, let me show you something. Like, that's your first sign to leave. Oh shit, I didn't even realize that's a great shirt.
Yeah.
That's a great shirt. So yeah, and they just have this night, they give him some wine, they jump off the bridge, they show him the way. And we lose Star at a certain point. She's very hesitant. Like, don't come.
Yes.
And I mean, you could tell he's lured in, right? Like the hypnosis is going on.
Yeah, in vampire movies, man, there's got to be a lure, and this, vampire. Brian, my buddy Brian, and I, we've talked about that on our podcast before too, when we've talked vampire movies. Vampires just traditionally have that very, they're very sexual in a way, very extremely. Well, vampires are usually sexy.
I mean, they are. I put a note in here in this, and like, once again, a question for you more is, I guess there was Fright Night before this, right? And it
85.
Has 85, and it has the same. They're cut from the same cloth. A bit of horror comedy. Kids are involved.
True story. These are my two favorite vampire movies.
Okay, cool.
And actually, even though my podcast is named after Lost Boys, Fright Night is my favorite vampire movie of all time. Lost Boys is number 2, but gosh, it's 1A, 1B.
Hey, well, you gotta come back and talk about Fright Night. It's
Fright Night.
It's funny too. It's Don't Kill Me. I actually really like the Fright Night remake. I think it
was fun. It was
I
good.
think
Well,
it's a
you
really-
covered it.
Yeah, I did. I listened to your. That's how I
yeah.
discovered you.
Yeah.
I just think it's a really fun, like underrated remake that gets
It
thrown
is.
into like remakes are bad. And like David Tennant is the star of that thing.
Yep.
Anyway, so but before that, like, is there a vampire movie that I should say mainstream vampire movie that has this allure to it though?
I think even some of the Dracula films kind of did, like even the one with Frank Langella. I can never.
I think it's Langella and
Yeah.
like Bela Lugosi and like those.
Yeah, there was always kind of that. I mean, they're biting. Let's say he has a female victim, Dracula or any vampire. The woman's usually beautiful, and even the act of like biting the neck.
Oh, it's sexual.
It's sexual for sure. It's sexual. It's almost sexual gratification for the vampire. It is because it's feeding, and I think it's more. It's part sexual gratification and it's part feeding, and it's in the neck area. It's a very sensitive area. You kiss a woman on the neck. She may like kiss me. Some pretty gals kiss my neck. I'm all we can all squirm.
No,
shit.
You're right, and yeah, and then let's go 30 years later, and we have Twilight, and this is the same thing.
Yeah, it is.
Basis it is all the same thing. I was going to say something, but this is not the podcast to spoil other things, so I won't bring it up. So we have this really like hypnotic scene, right? And I failed to mention there is a Doors motif kind of going on, Jim Morrison motif, and Jim Morrison, who I told Andy before the show, or maybe during this, I don't know. I used to be obsessed with him as a kid, so like, I know a weird amount about Jim Morrison.
Yeah.
Like he thought of himself as a vampire in a sense, and that's probably why it was included, and probably just like sexual being, and that's who they're. I mean. And I'm not just alluding to anything. There's a big frickin' poster that we transpose over Jason Patric, who mentioned earlier, is just meant to look like the like so. And there's the cover song to begin with the movie, and not bad for a cover song. And it made me think, like, cool. Why wasn't even the original? But that doesn't matter. So he drinks this wine, what he thinks is wine, and then he just wakes up in his bed and his eyes hurt, and as the audience what happens. And Corey Haim's great in this movie because he plays a little brother.
It's really good,
perfectly. I mean, he's curious. He's and he meets the Frog Brothers, played by which they're hysterical.
They're fucking great. The comedic elements in this movie are really good. Starts with the Frog Brothers. They're fucking hilarious. And then Grandpa is very funny as well.
Yeah, I was surprised. I Googled I went on IMDb and just at awards. It's like there must be Saturn Awards. Like Grandpa was nominated for a Saturn Award.
Barnard Hughes, old time veteran character actor at this point. I've been doing it a long time, long time.
And my favorite comedic beat is definitely the Frog Boys stealing the holy water during like a christening.
Yes,
it audibly laughed. So I do have one question for you, and it's a question I bring up anytime I see this. In their lair, who lit all those candles?
Whew, that's a great question.
I think it every time in rom-coms and movie, like, they're in the room and like it's like friends and like Chandler's proposing. I'm like, that's really like who bought and lit all of those candles? Do they have bases?
It was a lot. There was a lot of candles.
That's just it's movie magic, but it always and it looks great on film. But I always wonder. I'm like, man, I had a candle going before this, and like it'd be just as dangerous to have it here,
right?
So anyway, wakes up and he's being weird. On the meantime, and I failed to mention it, Dianne Wiest, she's getting a job at a video store.
Yeah, best
And,
videotapes in Santa Carla, man.
yeah, it's a cool video store. I miss video stores.
Yeah.
And she basically starts trying to date the owner or clerk of the video store.
The owner. He is the owner.
He's
Max,
the owner.
played by the late, very good character actor in his own right. Ed
He
Herrmann.
looked really familiar. What?
He's if you have to look at he was a working character actor for a long time. He passed, I want to say,
2014.
Yeah, 6-7 years ago now. Jeez,
Yeah.
time is flying. But yeah, he has been around. He was doing it for a long time.
I'm sure I've seen him 1,000 times.
Lots of stuff. I remember from like movies like Overboard with Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn. Lots of stuff. I mean, 137 acting credits under his belt.
Yeah, I'm
big theater guy. Yeah, very good actor. Everything I ever saw him.
Oz, yeah.
Lots of stuff, man.
Aviator. No, okay. Anyway, so they're trying to get a date together at the end of the day. Which I thought was really funny because like their dates keep failing and they just are always kissing each other still. Where I'm like, I've just never greeted someone with a kiss on the lips.
Sure.
I don't think I've kissed romantically yet.
Yeah, usually, but hey,
they do. And where are we with this movie? By the way, I'm just going this off my timeline of notes, and they're literally just like
perfect.
Like Grandpa was ahead of My Big Fat Greek Wedding with the Windex. Like that's the type of note taking I'm doing.
Yes, that's perfect too. The Windex for aftershave is
Ooh, that must burn.
Yeah, you would think.
What I really loved about this filmmaking too is these early kind of kills or people going. It's done in the Jaws way. Like he does try to keep you at arm's length of like what's going on. It's not too hard to figure out.
Sure.
So yeah, anyway, so the Frog Brothers give Corey Haim a comic book about vampires, and they're like, freshen up on this, like watch your back in this town, and they work at the comic shop. And I did look up, and I feel like you probably know this already. He mentions Batman 14, and I had to Google it because I'm like, is this a rare one? Apparently, it's not really that rare, but it's very expensive to this day. It doesn't mean anything. Apparently, there's no meaning to the comic.
Okay.
It's not like he fights a vampire or something.
Well, it's so funny that right there shows you. I mean, I'm gonna guess that Joel Schumacher put that in.
Yeah, he did. He was just flexing his like
huge comic book guy.
Yeah,
huge Batman fan. And it's funny because, as we all know, he would go on to direct a couple Batman.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool.
And I feel bad because he never should have had to apologize later in life for those movies.
No! Dude, everyone's entitled.
Who hasn't gotten blacked out drunk and sang Kiss from a Rose at karaoke?
Absolutely.
I know I have.
Absolutely, man. Everyone is entitled to a bad movie. Well, I'm still waiting for Quentin Tarantino to make a bad one, but everyone's entitled to at least one bad one.
Everyone is. So, but that was like, it's a $54,000 comic, at least the PSA graded one.
Makes you wonder if the fact that it's, how much of that value is up maybe a little because
all of it. I literally Googled it and an article came up from Screen Rant of the rarest comic ever, Batman 14. Is it rare? Like it was a full, like someone wrote 500 words on it. It's all the Lost Boys. Why that comic book is $550. Like a Batman collector's not spending that. A Lost Boys collector is spending that money.
Right.
So the night happens. They hang from the train, which is just such a great scene. There's a lot of good scenes, so I apologize if anyone listening if we're just having trouble like bopping around what to talk to. And then we kind of, the rest of the movie, I feel like, right? Like, correct me if I'm wrong, we're kind of just watching Michael's struggle and transformation of accepting that he's going to become a vampire.
Sure.
And Corey Haim which I loved, by the way. Whether it was Schumacher or the people who wrote the script, just made him immediately go like, "Get the fuck out of here! Like you're wrong. Like not let me save you." Like it's so rare in a movie. I literally had a note though. I'm like, I don't know. I'm really close to my brother. I probably would have just let him kill me.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Can't blame you there, dude. No, it's I think one of them, and I think I mentioned it because we actually talked about this on our 100th episode. We saved this for our 100th episode, and we talked about it for 3 hours, man.
Damn.
And you know, one of the things of the dynamic in this movie that I do like is the family here is you can tell they love each other. It's very evident. It's sold very well on screen. It's presented very well on screen in the storytelling. You know, so that bond and that dynamic between these brothers, like there's that scene where where he is turning and Michael's Corey Haim's character Sam is like freaking out on the phone with his mom. Michael's on the other phone outside floating, like outside the window, and he pulls him in, and it's just that whole, and when they get in, they're like gripping each other so tight, and it's just I like that shit.
No, I agree. It's that was a fun scene, especially like she acts like a mother in that situation too. Like she drops and runs home.
Yeah, leaves Max right in the middle of the date, man.
We've seen other movies. You've seen other movies where it's not that. It's like, I don't believe you. Like,
sure,
just heat up your oatmeal or whatever, and like go to bed. Who's eating? I don't know why I said oatmeal. Who's eating oatmeal before bed? But like, it's stupid shit. Like, and she acts like a mother, and she comes home and she's just like, all right, yeah, I'm bummed. I want to get laid.
Yeah.
So that has my apologies. That happens. And then like the dog starts acting up, right? Is it within the same scene?
A Nook, right?
Yeah, Nook. Cute husky. I mean, I was so happy to see that like nothing happened to the husky, as you might assume.
Sure.
And but there's passages in this movie of the vampire lore that like dogs will go crazy about them, and it happens twice in this movie. And so Dianne Wiest also invites Max over for dinner one night, and the Frog Boys are like
the test.
Yeah,
the test.
Good. They're like, because they're trying to figure out, right? They're trying to figure out. Corey Haim is trying to figure out with the Frog Boys. All right, well, my brother's turning because he doesn't know where to go, and he's like, "These guys are the best." They're like a year older than him.
I know.
And he's like, "No, we got it." And they're like, "Well, we have to find the head vampire," and they kind of connect the dots, and like, this Max guy must be the head vampire. So she's coming over for dinner because the mother is like, well, if I can't have a date, I'll have him over here where nothing can go wrong. And everything goes wrong.
What? I love when he says, it's garlic. Yeah, you hate it, don't you? Well, yeah.
I like garlic. Not this much.
Yeah, fucking.
It looks like so much Parmesan cheese, too. Like, if you thought that was Parmesan cheese, like, he put so much on his meal.
Oh, gosh, dude. He put so much chopped raw garlic on that. Yeah. So
I couldn't imagine biting that. So that scene happens, and then like we kind of cross off our list, like I did at least. I'm like, all right, well, Max isn't the guy. It was just this movie's decoy.
Red herring, eh?
Yeah. And then we go back. Honestly, at this point, even though I watched a couple hours ago, I kind of forget what Michael's up to at this point. Oh, he goes and has sex with Jami Gertz. Star. And at this point they're like, cool, she is a vampire. And then he comes home, and I do have a note for you about him in the daytime. His transformation looks like how a hangover feels.
Sure, it does.
Like, you're beat up, you're kind of horny.
Yep.
Like, I don't know. That was my notes. I'm like, I don't know why. Like, his look walking in that door, I'm like, that's how my last Sunday felt.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
It's pretty much describing that, what you
Yeah.
just said.
And that's what he's going through for. Like, sleep all day.
Mhm.
Like, me and my wife went out in New York City last weekend for the first time in a long time, and we were out till 4 a.m. We were at my parents' house, and they eat dinner at like 1. It was a Sunday dinner, and we woke up, and I'm like, all right, we'll have it. And I went back to bed and woke up at 1 o'clock when dinner was supposed to be, and I probably haven't slept till then in a decade.
Yeah.
So that's how I felt, and that's what immediately thought. So that's how we're looking at, right, Andy? Like, Andy, we're like, there's a lot of visual cues, and like you tell, he's just having the worst time. Like, turning into a vampire is not a good experience.
No, I would think not. I would think becoming the undead essentially. No, probably not fun. Probably doesn't feel well. It's probably worse than the flu for sure.
It probably doesn't happen like what we do in the shadows tells you. Or I should say the aftermath, because the turn is pretty hard.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, so much garlic. And then I'll just fast forward a little bit. We get to Michael and Corey and the Frog Boys are like, yo, we got to go kill the vampire. Let's go kill the head vampire lair. And this is the part that I really connected with, is that they get there and the younger brother, and I'm a younger brother, was like, no, we're going down. I'm going to protect you. It felt a very similar kin to like my brother's relationship of like, you don't have to protect. I got you. Like, it's very true.
I was an only child, and it's great to hear someone who knows that brother relationship, because that's what I gauged from these two characters. Like, I love these two brothers, that being Sam and Michael. I love them. I love them to death, man. Like,
it's very reminiscent. Like, I would have done this.
Yep.
I would have done the same thing, or have had similar conversations where it's like, I know, don't worry about it. Like, yeah, got it.
This movie nails a lot of things. This movie it's a pretty damn good film came out in '87. It's a vampire horror film. It really is. But that the storytelling and how this relationship between Sam and Michael is captured, their brotherhood per se is it oozes through the screen. It really, really does.
Yeah. So that scene was really, like, it stood out to me a lot, just right before they go into that cave, just for that reason. Emotional beat alone. And so we get down there, and I don't know, they scale up, and I love the detail. I love the detail that the vampires are sleeping upside down, like bats. Like it's
the bat feet. You were a fan of the bat feet?
I was
too.
a fan of the bat feet. It's unique,
it's cool,
right? Like, especially through all the media, and I kind of watching it with really fresh eyes. I like the makeup and the turn, with just the little bit of the forehead temple and the look, but that's been recreated for every vampire movie since The Lost Boys. Hey, you want to have your vampire movie not have crazy makeup? This is what we're going to do to show they're evil. I mean, hell, even
because Schumacher even wanted them, when they were full turn, to still be sexy.
Yes, and they still are. Well, even like what copied it. I mean, I guess this probably was more copying Buffy at the time, but there's this really obscure show that was on Fox Family, not ABC Family, in the late 90s, early 2000s, called Big Wolf on Campus. And it's basically a Buffy the Vampire Slayer ripoff.
Gotcha.
I mean, just with like a Canadian cast and pretending to be in America. It's a really fun show.
Sure.
But they have that same makeup, and that is a show that was just like probably millions of dollars less than Buffy, but mimicking it, and Buffy mimicked Lost Boys in their makeup. I mean, there's a clear lineage there.
Yeah.
So anyway,
But the bat feet are cool, and then
Bat feet are cool.
even if you notice, I don't know if you did notice, but others, if you've never noticed before and you're listening to this, next time you watch The Lost Boys, look at the position of the Vampire Fangs. They are not your traditional Vampire Fangs. They're like in closer. They're like more sexy looking.
Well, they're more like a butt. Yeah, no, now you mention, I could see
they're not as wide. They're usually kind of more out here. They're kind of in the inside a little bit.
They're not just the clips on the canines. They have their
Right.
more of a. Yeah, no, it's a great detail, and
very sleek. The fangs. I love the fangs in this. They look cool.
Yeah, I want to see, like, I'm sure people have it down to a science how to recreate those fangs too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So what do we got? Corey Feldman stabs Frog Brother 1. I know you know the names. I don't.
Yeah,
So
Edgar and Allan Frog, man.
Oh, Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Edgar stabs, drives a stake through our Bill, through Alex Winter, our Bill vampire.
Yes.
I'm sorry, he will always be Bill.
Always.
And wakes him up. They run out. Kiefer gets burned, and then they run away. I mean, they run away, but they're able to save Jami Gertz. And I failed to even mention she has her sister or a brother.
Yeah. It's like I don't think it's a relation to her. I think
she's just protecting him.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. I think that's because if you notice, there's a shot in the movie where that kid's on like a milk carton.
Yes.
I want to say he was just kind of abducted by this vampire clan crew, and she just kind of looks after him.
And that milk carton, I will reread it. They give a nickname in there, and I'm blanking on the nickname, but it made me think, is this also a girl too?
Sure.
Because it was just the way it was named. It was like literally like lady or something like that. It's
Laddie.
It's Laddie. Oh, that's why Laddie. I'm like, is it? Anyway. So there's this kid. Jami Gertz is protecting him, and they both get free. They bring him back to the house. The kids, now full front, know, okay, we got to kill the main vampire, but they're coming for us. Send the mom out on a date with Max. Send the grandpa out in one of the funniest ways of just like, yo, Pops, I sent you up with a date. He's like, great.
Grandpa's horny, man.
Yeah. I failed to mention, I did love the intro bit about his fridge of just like soda pops and cake. Was it that?
Something like that, yeah.
And anyway, so they sent him out, and I think that, I mean, this is where the movie becomes your final showdown, your horror movie.
Yep.
And the first kind of wave of vampires break through, come in, they fight, but they have all these traps. They steal the holy water. We mentioned a little earlier, that was my favorite, that comedy scene of them filling up their canteens of holy water. Like, I couldn't imagine going into a Catholic church or any church and filling up canteens and running out.
Right.
And filling up bathtubs and mincing just, I would say probably like, I don't know, 5 pounds of garlic.
Yeah. It's a lot.
Filling up with the water guns. And then kind of just all hell breaks loose in the house.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah. So what comes first in the Frog Brothers are like in the bathroom.
Oh God, this is so cool.
And it's
you killed Marco. Yes.
To me, it's
you're next. I think that's what he says.
He says, "Yeah, you're next." To me, it's the highlight of like
it's great
for me because they're in there and they're like doing their best to fight off, but nothing is really working.
Yeah,
you know. And then even like the cross and the holy water at first, and then they dunk him
into the bathtub.
And it's just this long half scene, not scene. And I imagine anyone listening is like just such fans of good practical effects. It's just a full skeleton melt. Of holy water melting this, and I just love that because it shows you like something I've never seen in a vampire movie before. Instead of just turning to fire or blowing up, like holy water's going to melt their skin off.
Right.
That's why they're afraid of it.
Yes. Absolutely.
Not
He looks a little glittery too. It's almost like Twilight. The glitter.
They put glitter in the blood.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know we can't trust it, but I did read the IMDb trivia. I feel like probably for like
No, people make fun. It's funny. They'll be like, they'll make fun of Twilight. Well, the glittery vampires. I'll go, you like Lost Boys? They're like, oh, I'll fucking love them. Well, those are glittery vampires too, by the way.
me and my wife have recently. I've no shame to admit it. We have ironically been enjoying the Twilight movies as full blown comedies,
Sure.
and we've had a lot of fun. Just like
I'm no shame either. Honestly, the first one, the first Twilight film, it's actually not bad. I actually kind of enjoy it now. Like New Moon and the sequels. Okay, it gets a little bad there. Like New Moon was pretty bad, but I get what you mean from the comedy aspect.
Yeah, no, we've been watching it for we're even I think they covered one of them. We're big How Did This Get Made fans. That's like one of my favorites of all time, and so that's where my brain is at while watching a lot of this stuff. But we're actually still holding out on the last one,
Breaking Dawn Part 2.
Yeah. But I've been watching this but no, they're fun. They've inspired some really funny internet memes, and but you're right though, the glitter is there. I forgot until you mentioned it, I forgot I had read that.
Oh, it's there.
That
glittery vampires were a thing before Twilight. Just people just forget. It was in Lost Boys,
and they made it a bad.
Again,
actually made it harder.
Schumacher wanted them sexy, damn it.
Yeah, and I think, and correct me if I'm wrong. It made it a little harder for some of the practical effects to work with the glitter in
I believe so.
Included into the corn syrup mix or whatever it was. So, but this scene, they're melting away, and then just for some reason, the pipes everywhere in the house are bursting out blood. Bursting. And then we cut to, so that's the Frog Boys that take her to that vampire. We go to the basement, and it was the other Corey takes care of the other vampire when he flings him up and then he squirts the holy word out of him and he falls.
Yep.
And so that happens, and I forget exactly how that other vampire dies. Is he just getting impaled?
I think I want to say like this. How does the other one die?
Yeah,
there's off the top of my head.
The middle one.
It's pretty chaotic right now at this point. Everything's kind of like, it's boom, boom, boom. Everything's happening. A lot of action, and we're into the horror. A lot of gore because the bathtub holy water scene, man, that's pretty fucking gory. Even though there's glitter, it's pretty gory.
No, it's
leave it up to Joel Schumacher to make something glittery and gory in the same scene.
It's just basically a bunch of mini Johnny Depp in the sucked in the bed.
Right.
Like that's this. So
now we have the big showdown between David and Michael, correct?
So that is where that happens. David and Michael happen, and this whole time Grandpa, this is just good filmmaking, I think. Grandpa has a bunch of taxidermy and deer heads and things, so pointy objects are around. And David and Michael have this fight.
It's an air fight.
An air fight. It looks good. It looks
does.
Good.
It actually does. Holds up.
I am glad we didn't see much of like goofy like vampires flying around.
Yeah, I if I want to watch that, I'll also watch The Matrix or something.
Yeah. So they're fighting is basically back and forth. It's just a lot of tussling.
It holds up well. It really does.
Yeah, like I said, I watched it here, right there. I was really I was taking the notes, but I was really engaged and like enjoying my experience. And I mean, I always do for the show, but I truly walked away. I'm like, I own 3 of them because that's the only way you could buy it, except spending I think like $35 on like a Shout Factory.
Gotcha.
So I have the 3. Maybe I'll watch 2 and 3.
They're not, spoiler alert, they're not very good.
Yeah, I probably won't.
Maybe someday, but
yeah, very good. And I believe that.
And those sequels came out literally
like
well
2007, 2014.
Yeah, like years later after the original.
Yeah, I think that's why Corey Feldman went on Psych to do the vampire episode, basically to promote A Lost Boys.
Probably.
Like, or maybe not why he went on, because that show collected literally, if you were an 80s star, like, you had an open invite to have a character.
Yeah.
So that happens, and then Michael literally just impale in a really good way, because he goes, "It's my turn now."
Yeah.
And like, because they're on the ropes basically, and he pushes them back, and he flips it on him, and he impales him with like four horns of a buck or something.
Yep.
And Michael's dead, and he's dead he's dead, and they're in the living room, I think, at this point.
And at this point, they think David is the head vampire.
I thought David was the head vampire.
Right. The audience thinks David's the head vampire, and once they kill the head vampire, that's going to save Michael and turn him back human. However, Michael is not changing, is he, Joe?
No, and he just becomes human. Like, his body just becomes human again. He doesn't have any sort of flare up or doesn't change. And then Max and Dianne Wiest walk through the door, and Max bolts to the back. And guess what? Max is the head vampire, and he reveals his main goal was to start a family here and as the Frog Boy puts it, of the fucked up Brady Bunch or something like that.
Blood sucking Brady Bunch. I think
like he wanted to turn both Sam and Michael and the mother and then them all be just a one big happy family. So there was an inception from the beginning of this movie, which, I'll be honest, like, does kind of come out of nowhere. Like, I didn't see any hints of the family aspect of it. Like, we were talking to you. So that happens, and I mean, there's a bit of like a tussle in the sense that Max gives a speech, and then out of nowhere, in one of the best like Deus Ex Machinas I could ever like imagine, Grandpa comes driving through the house and impales Max because he has all these like fencing boards.
Yeah.
And he just impales Max, dies, everyone becomes back to normal. Jami Gertz becomes back to normal, the little kid becomes back to normal, and I love it because it just ends with, yeah, you think I live in Santa Carla and not be aware of the vampires?
Yeah, it's so good.
And it ends, and it's like, what?
Dude, Grandpa's, here's the line. He goes, "It's one thing I could never stand, one thing about Santa Carla I could never stomach, all the damn vampires."
That's what it is.
Because it's so funny, because everyone's like dirty, sweaty, bloody, and like a wreck.
I mean, his house is
ruined, and they're all just the whole family's just standing there like in shock watching Grandpa don't give a fuck. He goes right to his fridge like real slow. That's one thing about Santa Carla I could never stomach, all the damn vampires. Love that line.
It was great. So that's the movie. I hope we did it justice of
oh god, yeah.
And
so
why?
Yeah, the only scene we really glossed over a little bit, and it is an iconic scene, is the noodle scene in the rice.
Oh,
you're eating. They're only noodles, Michael.
I actually had a question. I did have a question for you about that. So was he was he like hypnotizing him for
it?
Was
mind.
Okay.
Yeah. Mind power. Yeah.
That early on is where you're like.
That's the way I've always. I guess you could interpret it either way. But yeah, I interpreted it was definitely mind power. Yeah.
It's funny about iconic scenes because I do know it's an iconic scene, but watching it now, like, I just thought it was a good scene and didn't know it was an iconic. Like there were some other iconic scenes in the movie.
They're only noodles, Michael.
But you should. You know what? I know you just like got in a good place with work. Just quit your job and open up a noodle place called Their Only Noodles, Michael.
That'd be amazing. Brian has my co-host Dead in Santa Carla. Brian, he's got this shirt. It says like Santa Carla something, and then it's a big Chinese takeout box, and it says Their Only Noodles, Michael.
Love that.
It's pretty fire.
I want that shirt. Yeah. So, yeah, like anything really else you want to add to this movie, and like, or like if it like what it means to you, or anything like that. I know we covered a lot.
I mean, it's one from my. I mean, I first probably watched this movie when I was about 7, and I was watching horror movies when I was like 5, 6, 7.
And I was scared of them, but I was trying to get through all.
Oh, I was watching like stuff like this at this time. I was watching these, The Nightmare on Elm Streets, The Friday the 13th, Fright Night, Lost Boys, Return of the Living Dead is another film that I am a huge fan of from the 80s from a kid. Original Poltergeist, which was the first horror film I had ever seen. Actually.
You know what's crazy about the Poltergeist? And I have actually been meaning, I'm glad you brought it up, I've been meaning to say it on air. I've always been like, oh, like it's an easy horror movie. It's meaning like it's palatable, like you can watch it. It's not that scary.
Sure.
And this is something I probably said since I was 12. Not too far off, maybe not that, but 10, 12. To I would say since I become like an adult, like not like 27. I'm turning 30, 29.
Oh, congrats!
Thank you, February. So, but I'd probably say like 26, 27. I started finding myself hesitant when I put it on because it actually scares me today, and I think it has become with being like, I've lived, living on your own, doing this, having that. I don't know what happened, but for the Poltergeist is the one movie I had to switch where I went from I don't find it scary to this one like keeps me up at night.
Yeah, it's scary. No, it's a classic. The Steven Spielberg production, directed by Tobe Hooper. But no, Lost Boys. This is it's one of my favorites. It's one of the best vampire movies ever made, in my very humbled opinion. There's a lot to like here.
It's really good.
It's got a lot of good elements, man. It really does, and it really starts to me. I mean, the cast is just absolutely talented. Great cast, great young cast. They weren't even, Kiefer Sutherland was 19 years old when he shot this. I mean, that's how far back.
I thought he was 17.
I think Kiefer was 19.
So
he might have been 18.
I read that he lied about being 18.
That might be.
And that might be. He was 17 and he was
You know what? I think Jason Patric was the oldest one of them.
Okay.
I think he was like 19 or 20 when he shot this. Kiefer might have been only like 8.
Oh, shit. 18. Another good Joel Schumacher movie. I know we had that conversation earlier, which I fucking love. And you mentioned about, being young and seeing movies. I remember we all snuck into the theater, like, because they would check at that time, to go see Phone Booth.
Oh, Phone Booth is great.
And all me and my friends, which are 10 years old maybe, were obsessed with Phone Booth.
Yeah, it's great.
But it is a very good movie, not just because we were able to see an R-rated movie.
Yeah, and that's got that would have been to my knowledge, that's the third film that Schumacher and Kiefer Sutherland. He's the voice. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, anyway. It's a coming out party for a lot of these people, but really, really, this movie is what it is for one reason and one person only, and that is Joel Schumacher. He had a vision for this film. He was very adamant that they were going to see this vision through, and he would only direct it if they did his vision. And he loved the idea from the script, and he just ran with his own ideas. And this is what we got. And this movie, the product that we got, is a result of Joel Schumacher's vision, and he was dead on in this movie. He knew what he wanted, and he directed the shit out of this film. There's no doubt.
Yeah, man, that is perfectly put, because it's that's the shining star of this movie.
Really is.
All right, so I think we covered. I think I'm satisfied with what we covered. So
yeah, me too, bud.
Good. All right, so Andy, once again, where can everyone find you?
You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Cleves _. That's AndyCleves _. And you can check out the Dead in Santa Carla podcast. New episodes every Monday, where we talk about a different horror movie every Monday. You can follow them on Twitter, or us on Twitter, at DeadnSC Podcast. Yeah.
Good follow. All right. Well, stay frightful, everyone. Thank you for joining. Thanks.
crap.
Welcome to FlyOver State of Fear.